everybody, and welcome back to 31 Days of Indie Horror. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I'm here with,
John Ward.
yes, John. I think this is your fourth time. I think you're the one of the only people that have been on every single season, you
Oh,
know?
wow. Okay. Groovy. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, yeah, so far, because you were there for the first season, I believe, right? I think
You
so.
would have to tell me the films. I'm not sure.
All right, let
We
me
do a lot of these.
I know we do a lot of these different ones, and they're very confusing after a bit because they
They
kind of
blend
all,
in together for me for some of them.
yeah. Maybe you haven't been in all seasons. Yes, you have. You were the first one we did together was Piranaconda back in the day.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was a long time ago. Okay.
That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
2020. So that's when I first started. That was when I was actually doing it. Like that whole month, and I was doing it every day. you know. Um, I do not have time for that now. That's all the shit I do. But I don't even know how I did it. I did it. I did 31 episodes every day. I put out a new one and everything. It was nuts.
I remember
Uh-oh.
those days. Yeah.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I just muted myself for a second. So there you go. Fun times. Anyway, that's how this whole thing's gonna start. We're gonna be talking about Curse of Wolf Mountain, a movie starring, well, has it's not starring, but has Tobin Bell, Danny Trejo, Matt Rife, comedian Matt Rife before he was comedian Matt Rife, pretty much. Before everybody knew who the hell he was, which I don't know if you know who he is,
No
or
idea.
not. Yeah, he's a pretty funny comedian. I like him. He's not woke at all. He's a white guy who says very un PC stuff, you know.
All I
Um
know is there was not one funny person in this entire movie.
yeah, there wasn't funny lines, much. And I don't think he was, whatever. Anyway. So then there was it Tobin Bell, Eddie McClintock, who's been in a bunch of different stuff. And I think that was all the big stars, like
Wow.
any
Except for two of them, I've not heard of one of these people, so I don't know how big of stars they are. I mean, it's
you never heard of Tobin Bell?
except for two people
Two people, Tobin Bell, and
and
Danny
Danny Trejo.
Trejo.
Yeah.
Eddie McClintock, he's been in a bunch of stuff. I was looking him up, and he's kind of, you know, what was it? He was in that Sweetest Thing with Cameron Diaz. I don't know if you remember that movie.
I know. Yeah, I think I saw it.
I mean,
It's
he's been
like the female version of There's Something About Mary or something like
pretty
that. Yeah.
much, yeah. I mean, he's been in a bunch of TV shows, as like special guests, like Friends, and I mean, that special guest probably just guest starring. Monk. What was the
You
show
know,
he
I got
was
to be
in?
honest. I have no idea who you're talking about.
So he
I
was the guy that played the cousin
Oh
who
my God, he was so unfunny.
wasn't trying. I don't think he was he trying to be
He
funny?
was. I think it was ad libbing, I'm just gonna be. I'm just gonna say it. I hated this movie. I started watching it on what are we on today?
We're on
Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah.
So I started to watch it on Wednesday. I'm sorry, on Sunday. I got through 10 minutes of it and went, "Oh, screw this. I'm gonna go watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse," and ended up watching that instead. And then started it over again last
Yeah.
night, and this thing was killing me. It was killing me. And I looked up some of the people, and it looks like they've done a fair amount of stuff, which is why I was a little confused of why this was so boring and bad. And that poster has really nothing to do with the movie. It was not called The Curse of Wolf Mountain. It was just called Wolf Mountain, with one of the worst credits I've ever seen in a movie. I mean, it goes credit, 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 and then The Curse of Wolf Mountain, which looks like it was made on Windows Movie Maker, and then movie, movie, movie. Like seriously, you can't even just take a stock shot of a
I
mountain
I
and
did I did like the drone shots in the beginning and stuff. Like I thought
the
those
the
looked good.
the stock drone shots that
Yeah,
yeah,
I guess
and
they were
the
stock. Yeah.
stock moon shots. This entire film was shot day for night, and it looked awful. They're out
Yeah.
there like where are you? Where are you? And you could see everything behind them, like everything. Uh, uh, I I I hated what the killer looked like. I thought that the poster for it looked a lot better. I couldn't even tell what it was until they did a close up, and I guess it was supposed to be a bear. And what curse? And
Well,
the I mean everything in this was awful. Everything. It was a PG slasher movie. Like was this thing made for Sci-Fi Channel? Because there's no blood in it, and
oh,
it
there's
has
a little
oh
blood
somebody
when,
dribbles some blood out here, or there's
well,
blood on the
yeah,
leg.
or they go through their stomach and stuff, and so there's a little blood through that, but like it
You
didn't
could
like, pour
barely
out
see
like,
it.
you know.
No, and if you're making a slasher film, you got to make the effects, seeable. You got to, because that's why people watch stuff. This was just
All right, let's just go through the movie a little bit, okay? Like, start talking about. So in the beginning of the movie, you meet the main guy, and he's kind of telling this story to his therapist, played by Tobin Bell, about how I guess he saw his parents die, but there was something more, and that was the thing I didn't really like because in the beginning it was just flashes of it, so you didn't know really what was going on, you know? Like it didn't look like two people falling off a cliff. It looked like
well because
just
they're fragmented pieces in his mind that he's trying to
uh,
remember. That's what
right.
Tobin Bell is trying to get out of him,
Like
are the
I think
full pieces.
was he doing like hypnosis or something, right? Like
I don't think he was. I don't know. I don't think it was hypnotized. He was just talking to him, and maybe I guess it was.
that's what I thought about what it was, but maybe
It
not.
seems like it should be hypnosis, but there was never that whole thing of Tom, I'm going to count the three, and you're going to come out of this. There was none of that. It was
That would have been great. Because I think that would have been fun. Where he sort of because I mean it's not real science, it's not real therapist stuff, but it's fun to watch hypnotherapy, kind of does stuff on television and movies and stuff. But anyway, so he's sort of telling, and like I guess each time it gets sort of like more clear of what's going on, more he dives into it. And Tobin says, it's time to stop, but also tells him like maybe he should go back to the spot where where this all happened, and everything, and see about you know, figuring it all out. So he decides to do that, but his wife, who's now we find out is pregnant, and her uh and his brother, older brother, who's not really brother, I guess, like
well,
adopted brother.
we find out later on that he was adopted, and then the parents had our lead, and then yeah,
Yeah.
without
So
giving too much away right now.
well, right now, but by the way, there will be spoilers. So just note that
Yeah,
there will
watch
be
out. I know you guys would be disappointed. Spoilers for The Curse of Wolf Mountain or Wolf Mountain.
Wolf Mountain was the original title, I guess, and then they changed it, I guess. I don't know why, but sometimes they do that. Like Full
I don't
Moon
even
will
know
do
why it's
that
called
too.
Wolf Mountain when he has a bear on his head.
Well, it was supposed to be whatever that is, I guess, but it doesn't even look
No,
like that.
not at all. If you see the close up, it's a bear because they because that was the whole thing, is that it was a bear going around killing people, or that's why they set up bear traps. So I think the killer's
Well, the
head,
Wolf Mountain
the
was.
headpiece is a
They
bear.
also mentioned a wolf man person running around.
Which I would have been much more interested in if the killer ended up being a werewolf.
Right.
That's where I
Which
was hoping it was going to lead
I
to.
thought so too. It's like, oh, Wolfman. So we're gonna see like a werewolf, character, especially with moon shots and things like that, full moon shots. Like, how cool would that have been? But it didn't go that way. So anyway, he ends up going with so his brother and his sister-in-law and her sister and her boyfriend. The boyfriend was
Yeah,
Matt
so there's
Rife.
what, three, like two sets of
Yeah,
three, right?
let me get the
So I think there's like
let me get
six
the
people, and then we have the uncle, and then the
cousin.
cousin,
But
and
he
then
was
the
supposed to just be watching the dog, I guess. Right? You know, because he wasn't supposed to be traveling with them or whatever.
yeah, they just dropped the dog off at his house that was constantly out of frame, and which was really annoying. And it
So the
God, I
two
hated this movie.
the
I gotta
two
stop
main
doing this.
actors,
I hate this movie.
what is it, the lead actor and his older brother are the writer and director. So the lead actor is the writer. So of course that's why he gets like the really hot girlfriend and you know all this stuff. 'Cause, you know, why not, right? I guess they're
God,
also producers of it.
God, our lead actor is such a beta. God, he's a wimp.
Yeah.
I'm just the girlfriend did more than him, and he was like scared. She's like, go on and check out what that noise is, and he's like, what, me?
Yeah,
No, send your girlfriend out there. You're the man. Go see what it is.
I know. Like
He's
I seriously got mad at that too, because I was like, dude, what the fuck?
he's
You
such a
know? Um,
but women date these guys. They like these guys that are more female than they are, and so that's their fault. It's
right.
you're not dating a man. I mean, the
So
brother was a man. The older brother was pretty manly. So
that's why he becomes, well, spoiler alert, he becomes a killer, you know. Right. So anyway, they end up going on this trip. And then, you know, and I'll get to that. So they all kind of travel together and then so yeah, so it was Lexi and Emma were the two girls, you know, that came with, you know, or whatever. And they were both Hispanic sisters, you know, supposedly, right? And James was Matt Rife. So that was the other guy that was there, not the brother, not the um, you know, and it's funny because I mean, if you listen to anything Matt Rife himself actually does in stand-up comedy, he is so different than whatever he was portraying in this movie. I mean, you know, he loves, yeah, obviously he loves sex, and there was a little bit of sex, but it was sort of like boring sex where,
it is sex to the point of where you should not even film it.
yeah,
Both girls had bras on, and then they had like the blankets or whatever they had with them wrapped around their waist, and it's like, don't even bother. Just
yeah,
don't bother. You could hear them like the other tents did when they were out camping,
hmm,
and you could hear the other people, hear the moaning and groaning. That's fine. Keep it at that. But once you cut to the tent, and the guy's like, "Oh my God, this was so awesome." Yeah, your girlfriend practically wearing armor
yeah,
is so hot. Wow, that's how I like having sex, with clothes on. You
yeah.
know, like,
Which nobody ever does. Everybody's always, I mean, if you're actually having sex, it gets hot and you know, you take all your clothes off because it's fucking, you know, it's not going to be you're going to be sweaty and you're going to, you know what I mean? So it's a TV thing. It's a movie thing. I can't you know, the actors don't want to show nudity, you know, be topless or whatever, which kind
sex
of,
cut.
you
Okay, then
know,
we'll cut it.
yeah. I agree. Like why at that point it's just, you know, it's just watching two people on top of each other, you know?
Or
And
you do the starting of sex.
right.
She's there in her bra, he's there with his shirt off, they got the blankets on him, and then it's just like, oh yeah, come on, and then they start going for it, because then the bra can be removed
Mm-hmm.
later, even though we don't see it. But it's like, no, if they're in mid-sex and she's on top of the guy,
Mm-hmm.
and there she is with a bra, what, the guy's not going to grab at her? He's not going to do anything? She's just going to
Mm-hmm.
sit there. I hate this. I hate this type of stuff. Hey, doggy.
I got my Wolf Mountain right
Uh,
here. You baby. He wanted to come he gets really like lonely, so he's just wanted to. come come cuddle with me while I'm doing the show. He doesn't mind.
No, that's awesome.
Um,
I have a chair right here for the kitty cats to sit on so they can hang out with
oh,
me.
that's cute.
So
So yeah,
that's
they're
why if you
just
see me
staring.
doing this, it's because I'm petting them. So
Oh, okay. That's good. I'm always wondering what else are you doing over there? You
well, I
know.
have clothes on, so I might be having sex.
At least according to this movie.
Yeah.
Um, so we find out also before they go on their trip that there's a bank robbery. And I think I kind of laughed at the line where he was like, people still rob banks. Because I was like thinking about that. I don't really hear about it in the news as much, you know? So I kind of
Right.
agree that like, do people really do it as much, or at all? Like, like I've never in my town. Actually, no, we've had one bank robbery in town, you know. But like it doesn't normally happen. So I get that line,
No, it's all
you know.
done electronically and
Yeah, it's hacker stuff, you
cyberly
know.
and
Yeah, cyber
yeah,
attacks and stuff.
hackerly.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, but I mean, I guess it could still be done. I mean, it's an easy way to write,
Right.
you
And
know.
and you don't have to show the the bank robbery, or whatever. You just have to mention
Well,
it.
so this is what annoyed me with that. This entire film would not exist if both the bank robbers, who's Danny Trejo, and then two other guys, just walked away from the campers, our lead characters. So they meet up and they separate. And if they just went their separate ways, nobody would have thought of anything different and it would have been fine.
I don't
Instead,
know
they have
though,
to.
because like the guy was still planning to kill him. So that would have happened. And then he would have killed everybody else in the group. That was always going to happen.
No,
Like,
I'm no, I'm just saying with the bank robbers.
oh, right. Well, the bank robbers was just extra people to get killed, you know?
And, and I saw one review that said apparently Danny Trejo will act in anything. So
I mean, you pay him, he'll do it.
yeah, I mean, I guess they had him for 2 or 3 days, and they had Tobin Bell for one day.
Yeah, it
So
had to be
they
one day. I was like thinking that too because I was like, I was like, I saw him in the first 3 minutes. And I was like, is that it? Is that all we're gonna get of Tobin? Then he comes back at the end, like on like a Skype kind of chat kind of thing,
yeah.
and then that's it. Then you don't, right? So I'm like, okay, yeah, probably one day. They
Yeah,
haven't
they're
killed
probably
him.
like somebody may have known him. Maybe they were friends with somebody with the amount of credits that these people have. So
Hmm.
maybe they did have some sort of contact, and they're just like, "Hey, Tobin, we'll give you $500 for the day, and you got an office." Yeah, okay, let us come over and shoot just
Hmm.
for a day, and we'll give you like $500, a pizza, some beer, and we're good to go.
I
And
hope
he's
it
like,
was
"Oh,
more than
okay."
$500 for to be in this movie. Just because,
I have no idea what their
now
budget is. I'm assuming it was low because it was. I'll give them credit. I mean, it was shot fine. It was edited fine. The sound was fine. It was just so
this shot was not fine though,
boring.
because like as you were saying, it was shot day for night, and there were
But I'm
times
saying
where,
it's fine. Like
but
it's.
it becomes like day and night at times. We see this in a lot of indie horror
Oh yeah, yeah.
flicks,
There's a lot
and
of day shots. There's a lot of night shots, and there's a
and
lot
it
of
was
day
very
for night shots.
confusing. It was very confusing. I was like, wait, wasn't it just
Well, they're
daytime?
going to bed, and you can clearly see that it's daylight.
Right. And then they get out of bed and it's daylight, but then like 2 seconds later it's night. Like it was just very confusing at times. It just drove me nuts. With the lighting and with the look of everything. Because I get it when you're shooting an indie film, and we're both indie filmmakers, so we get this stuff, but like if it looks bad, it looks bad. You know what I mean? Like you
I
gotta be
I Yeah, I didn't want to dislike this as much as I did because I was kind of thinking like, okay, what if I got the opportunity to make a Camp Blood movie, which is all out in the woods with tents
right.
and a killer clown and going around. You know, I don't think I would do day for night, but unless you have silent generators that you can
Mm.
use at night, you kind of have to, or my thing is I like slasher films that take place during the day.
I do too.
Yeah,
Interestingly
so
enough, like the first Camp Blood movie, I think did that. With
a
Brad
lot of
Sykes.
them do.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got disappointed with them once they started doing them at night again.
right.
And so I mean maybe mine, but I was watching like the camera and stuff, and I was thinking like, yeah, I don't think I would have done much different as far as the camera work goes. Like, okay, it's a two shot, they're in the woods, so they're kind of in the middle of the frame and we're getting the forest around them. And okay, I think I probably would do the same thing.
Hmm.
And but it was just so boring. I mean, I don't care about the pregnancy because it's never really dealt with. It's
And and
not
like
like please don't kill her. She's pregnant. It's
yeah. Well, he knew that she was. Well, I guess he didn't. They didn't know who he was at first, But like even then, they couldn't really say. I mean, can you really say that? Like, don't kill my wife. She's pregnant. Right? Like,
I don't know.
or
I
whatever.
I, I would have gone Charles Manson with it, with like Sharon Tate. I mean, if you're gonna have a pregnant woman in a slasher movie, then you got to take full advantage of it. So either she's gonna get killed and they're gonna get that baby out,
Hmm.
they're gonna do a C-section on her, like the killer is gonna take it right out of her, or you make her like a kick-ass chick who's pregnant with a big belly, and
Hmm.
and she's just whipping a chainsaw around or an axe or something like that with
That would be
while
awesome.
being pregnant, and like blood all over her or something. And in this she wasn't even showing. It was just, oh, I'm pregnant.
There was that there was that weird like line where I don't know if it was ad-libbed or if it was real where she where they find the I guess brother-in-law or whatever finds his girlfriend, or wife or whatever she is, and he's like, "Oh my God, I can, I you left me," and she's like, "I left you," and or you left me or whatever, and then they start making out, and they're like, "I love you, I miss you," blah blah blah. Then the girl goes, the pregnant girl says, I was it, oh, I'm gonna be sick, or I'm gonna throw up or something like that. And she's talking about how gushy they are or whatever. And he was like, why? Because of the pregnancy. And it was just weird. It was such a weird line, because like it felt like it was all sort of made up, and things like that. Like they
Right, like
were,
she's getting some sort of like morning sickness, but
yeah, but
afternoon sickness. Or
right, and it was like saying that that's what that's why you're no, she wanted to throw up because you guys were being
so see,
gushy.
play into that then. But give her get a fake stomach. You don't have to show it because she just has a shirt on, and
Hmm.
and you play into her getting sick. You play into, does the killer, murder her when she has a baby? Because any guy can, or woman could go, oh, oh, look, my girlfriend's pregnant, or I'm pregnant, but they're still not showing. So it's not interesting. It's just nothing in this was interesting.
You
It
did
was,
you did hit something on the nail earlier when you said that one guy was ad-libbing things, for sure. The cousin or whatever, the dog watcher, he said a line he where he was like something about condoms or something, make sure you
oh yeah.
get condoms. And then he was like, why, she's pregnant. And he was like, I wasn't talking about for her, for you or something like that or whatever. I wasn't talking about that for you. And he was like, who are you talking about that for? Do you remember that line? It was such a weird random line.
I kind of, yeah, I mean, that's why I think a lot of that stuff was made up.
All
And they,
right. It was just
you know,
weird. It was like, I don't know what
so
that was
I
supposed to mean. Like,
I I'm not going to name the film, but it is a slasher movie, and there's behind the scenes footage, and you can see everybody laughing at everything. And I'm like, it wasn't funny in the movie, and I'm not laughing behind the scenes, but you guys thought it was the funniest thing ever. Like this what this person said was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, oh my God, this is gonna break the internet. This is so hilarious. And
Right.
it isn't. And that's almost how I feel with this type of stuff.
Uh-huh.
Is you get somebody who, oh, I'm a comedian, and then you're let them ad lib their stuff. And behind the camera, you're like, oh, God, this is hilarious. Oh my God. Oh. And it's not. And it's funny to you,
It's funny to
but
you
it's
because
not.
maybe it's in that situation. It's in that like
Well, yeah, and you know the
moment.
person and you find
Yeah.
that person funny, but it's like, but it's not. It's
Yeah.
not
But
funny.
people like you and I who don't know, like haven't been there, because like, you see so many outtakes where the people are just cracking up and I'm like, why are they like laughing that much? Like it, it's not, you don't have to, you don't have to laugh that much. But when you're on set, and you probably done that, where you've been like you've laughed because, like, say on Axmas, one of the guys makes you laugh so hard or something, and you're like, "Oh my God, that was great." But you're not, that's not part of the movie. The movie isn't going to make you laugh. It's
Well,
just,
yeah, I
remember
don't mind
having fun.
bloopers and I don't mind behind the scenes, but it's they let this guy, this comedian, the cousin, most likely ad lib and do his own lines to the killer and to the dog and to the other people, thinking that he's funny.
Right.
He's not funny. So I don't know. Maybe on stage or something he's funny. I don't know. But it's I'm not, oh my God, we got to get Greg in this movie because he's hilarious. We're going to let him ad lib everything.
And there's that part at the end where the two guys, the cousins, he's dropping him off at the airport, and they see that, or the one guy sees, oh my God. And I'm like, how the fuck did you see that? Like, I didn't see that. That was too fucking quick for me to be able to like
I
spot
don't think
that
we did
dude.
see it. I
I
had no
don't,
idea what he was talking about.
yeah. And he was like, oh, that was Max. We need to go turn around and head over there and, go back home. And he's like, trying to tell him to like relax or
It,
whatever. But like,
which then I thought the cousin was going to be in on it.
that would have been a
you know,
good twist.
you know, there's an Alfred Hitchcock Presents episode, and it's not the old black and white ones with Hitchcock. It was one of the newer ones. I think it was done in like the '90s or something. And a woman gets raped,
Oh.
and her husband comes and gets her, and he takes her home, and she goes, "That's the guy. That's the guy." And he's like, "What? That's the guy." And he goes and murders the guy. And he gets back in the car, and there's like blood on him, and he goes, honey, I took care of it. You don't have to be scared anymore. And they drive away, and all of a sudden she goes, that's the guy. That's the guy. No, that's
Oh,
the guy.
I remember
That's the
that.
guy. And the husband's like, oh my God.
Like,
That's what I thought they were trying to do at the end of this. When he's like, "That's I see him. I see him there." But the problem is they don't do anything with it. If he would have gone a little crazy and being like, and the cousin's like, "What are you talking about? I don't see anybody there." And then all of a sudden we see the brother, and the fact that there he is, and then he's not there. No, there he is. He's right there, and then he's not there.
maybe he had like PTSD
Yeah,
from the stuff
like
or
now he
whatever.
thinks
Because like,
everybody's the brother. And the
yeah, that
cousin's
would have
like,
been
I don't
cool.
know. Yeah,
But
I don't know
see,
what to
we're
do
giving better
now.
ideas than the movie had, you know. Because
And
I
that
think,
wouldn't have cost any more money.
I know, and I think what they just did was make it more just like a standard slasher, you know?
Yeah.
And, with a movie like Curse of Wolf Mountain and talking about a wolf man on the mountain, like as you said, it should have been a werewolf movie. It should have been a werewolf. Even if the brother was a werewolf, that could have been cool, right? Like, that maybe, uh but I don't know. Um it just, I feel like it just became a standard slasher, you know? Like they watched that movie, what's it, Wolf Creek? too much, and it just they tried to make their own, and it just didn't feel like that. Now, you said you saw that they have done a lot of movies, and it's so funny because I was looking up another like I have a other people doing 31 days, so I was looking up on Tubi trying to find something else, and there was another movie that the same people produced, you know, and everything that was on Tubi. I did not choose it because I already chose this one, so I figured maybe next year it won't be you who watches it with me. But, I'm probably
Thank Wolf
gonna
Mountain for that.
yeah, well, and it's funny because like I don't think there's been any maybe Piranaconda, and then did you like Axe Giant or you did not like Axe Giant? I can't remember. But
Oh,
there
that's the
Paul Bunyan movie.
Paul Bunyan. Yeah, I like that one because I'd seen it before. So that
Yeah.
that one I did like. Yeah.
So there's been a few that you liked, and then there was a few you didn't like. I remember last year we did the first time watch Fridays with you, and we had that one from the people in the UK, and you hated that one. I don't know. I don't know
Which one
which
was
one.
that?
It was the one with the band or whatever, and they go into they invite some people into their house or whatever, and it just turns out to be I don't think you remember this at all. Maybe
No.
you blocked it out of your mind, but you hated it. You absolutely, and maybe it's up there with this, but like there was like some kind of weird thing with this like band that they invited everybody, like they threw balloons down, and then you pop the balloons and you got like an invite to this party or something like that.
Oh, I kind of remember that,
Yeah.
but not really. I mean, I do and
Yeah.
I don't.
I bet next year
Yeah.
you won't really remember Curse of Wolf Mountain. I bet after this movie's done, you're just gonna like put it out of your memory.
Well, and I give them credit for a couple things. I mean, like they wanted to have characters. Okay. Like so they have the cousin, they have the god damn it. The people that go around the forest and protect the
Park
forest.
Rangers.
Rangers. Yeah, and they have them and they each have their own distinct personality, especially the young black guy
Kind of
and
reminds me like a Kevin Hart type, character.
which is probably what they told him to do. And but at least they tried to I mean they just weren't three rangers. They tried to give them personalities and so it's like okay, I appreciate that and I appreciate that we could see what was going on and the sound was okay and the music was okay and but that's all this movie is
Just okay.
okay.
Well,
that
and
that's
but like I don't know. I was kind of hoping for more and better. I mean that I
Oh,
think
especially with that poster, I was hoping, and then when I didn't see that that was the killer, and I liked that he had the crossbow and he's got the sight on it, and
well,
it's
I
used
mean that
very
was in
little.
it. That was in the movie, the
It
crossbow,
is,
but
but it's
you
very little though.
yeah, that was pretty cool. I did like that the kills were like with a crossbow or him shoving things in or whatever. Like, I wish that Danny Trejo's death had been a little bit better. I feel like that was like the lamest of them,
Did he just get strangled or
yeah,
something?
that's what I'm saying. Like, it was just kind of boring. Um, I did like
That's what
watch,
you have Danny Trejo. Give him the death in the movie. He has to have the best death in the film. He's the guy that you spend money on. Because
yeah,
I can't imagine with him going, "Oh, how do I die?" Oh, you just get strangled, and then we're just gonna have you
yeah.
like
I'm
that.
sure he was like, oh fuck, man, pay me $5,000 and I'll do it. I don't know. It was lame. It wasn't my favorite death. But I did like, I did really enjoy the like crossbow and stuff. Like those were fun.
But it wasn't used creatively. It wasn't. It just wasn't. It's like they got the mask with the bear on it, and probably close up. And when they got it, they're like, "Oh, this is really cool looking." This is going to be awesome. Like he'll see through here, and then I'll have the bear up here, and because at first I thought it was a cougar because they kept mentioning cougars, that like maybe cougars are killing people, and I'm like, oh, is it a cougar? And then, no, no, it's a bear. I think it's a bear. And maybe when the effects artist gave them the mask, they're like, oh, this is really cool. But it's never it's only from far
Uh-huh.
away. You see the one close up where the killer kills his wife because she finds the mask.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it. You just get that close up, and that's when I went,
I
oh, it's a bear.
I kind of was upset about that too because I'm like, she didn't even know what that meant, It's not even like, you know. But he did explain, I guess he just was gonna kill everybody anyway. So when she saw it, he was just like, I'll just kill you now, you know.
But
But like,
but it's funny is he going to kill everybody out there because the therapist recommended to go back to the spot where the parents were killed?
well,
Because why
right.
why couldn't he just kill him anywhere? I mean, he could have hit him with a car.
Yeah, he could have, or he could have just came in when they were sleeping and, you know, just murdered, whatever. It it didn't really make any sense because like it it felt like he was scared that the guy was gonna go back to the spot and figure it out, you know? But like the dude wasn't a mask, you know? There was nothing like even if he had figured out, oh, my parents were murdered by somebody, they didn't just fall off this cliff or whatever, then like what, like
Well,
I,
and that was hilarious. The parents are just standing there holding each other. No, stop, stop, no, 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 don't, no, don't stop, no, jump. And then and them falling off that cliff
that
looked
was terrible.
hilarious.
It looked
That was,
terrible.
oh my
What
God.
was that? Was that like a fake bodies or
They
something?
had to be
Like
two dummies.
dummies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh man,
and
they look so
as I'm
bad.
sure the camera's pointing down, they threw the bodies going, we
Yeah.
got it. This looked awesome. And I knew the brother wasn't dead because we didn't see his body.
Yeah. We didn't even see him really fall off, like, or whatever.
No,
Like,
he just goes, ah.
right.
That's
Out of
about
frame,
it.
out of frame.
Yeah.
That was it.
So out of frame means off a cliff.
I guess in their
Kind of
world.
like, see, now my hand doesn't exist because it's out of frame.
You have no hand.
It's magic. Wait, hold on.
Now you do. Oh my God. That's
It's
crazy.
magic.
Yeah. I don't know. It was just nuts. It should have been so much better. Like it had opportunities to just be better. Like we don't even need that. It could have just been that they went on the trip. Like I feel like the whole uh the whole therapist thing and the whole family, the parents dying thing was just, excuse to have Tobin Bell in the movie, like literally.
That's
Like
why I think maybe somebody knew someone and they're like, fuck, we could get Tobin Bell.
and then all of a sudden we can make this whole story come to life because he'll be the
Yeah,
therapist that
and he'll be a
explains it.
therapist and we'll bookend it,
Yeah,
and we could put him on and that's what he. There's a much better film, and they did a sequel called The Redwood Massacre.
I've heard of it. Yeah, and the sequel
It's
had
really
like
good, and I
Danielle
like the
Harris in
sequel
it or
better.
something.
The sequel, I think, yeah, one of them has Daniel Harris,
Yeah.
and I was friends with the director on Facebook, and I want him on One Filmmaker, um, but those
Are
are
you
so
still
much
friends
better
with
than
them?
this. I'm technically friends with him, but it's because I lost my account. I have to get everybody
Oh,
back. So
right.
that's why I say I was friends with him, I guess, but
Yeah.
technically still am. And I loved both those. And it was the same type of idea, people in the woods and they find an
I mean,
old place and
this
there's a
isn't
killer in it.
yeah, this isn't new ground. No pun intended. This isn't something that's like all of a sudden, oh my God, they're making something like nobody has ever seen before. But when you do that, you kind of make something stand out, you know? You got to make it so that it it does feel different. Like, okay, good example, Cabin in the Woods, right? You watch that movie, in the beginning of the movie, it feels like every other Cabin in the Woods movie you've ever seen, like Evil Dead, blah blah blah. Then, and when they get into the second act, it becomes this crazy fucking movie. You have no idea what's going to happen. It feels so original and so different and so much fun. But you that's what you have to do. You can't make the same movie, again and stuff and expect people to go, "Oh, okay, well, I've seen this before, so it must be good." You know what I mean? Like that's not how
Well,
people view things.
I have now worked on and watched so many micro budget movies
Hmm.
where somebody gets stabbed and it goes under their arm,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
they pull it out and there's blood and they just put blood right here. And that's
On
it.
their
There's really
titties.
no hole right on their boobie, right on their titty.
Mm.
And like they just cut the shirt or something. That's what this kind of reminded me of with the effects. It is how can we do the cheapest effects possible for even something like Aximus? That's what I focused on. I mean, it's 30 minutes, but I made sure in the script that each death was interesting. And even though it was on a micro budget, which was $500,
Hmm.
Miranda Dudley, my effects artist, we did the best that we possibly could with making things interesting. And we went out and bought two torso mannequins, one
Hmm.
female and one male. And we've used those things in every movie, and knives and axes and intestines. And I mean, it's
Hmm.
amazing of what you could get away with just using a mannequin with a shirt on it. And
Hmm.
that's what makes me disappointed in these types of movies is in I don't know how many people have access to mannequins, but we have a mannequin shop here, and you could just go in and buy mannequins. And so we just needed the two torsos,
Vegas, you
but
can just buy anything in Vegas.
pretty much.
It
And
just has to stay there. What happens in Vegas has to stay there.
yeah, it will disappear, or if it leaves if it goes over the border into California, it just like. But they could have, even with something like Danny Trejo's death, to make since he's the big guy, is he's sitting there at the campfire and all of a sudden the machete goes into his gut
Mm-hmm.
and oh and then the machete pulls out and then the guy just goes into the shirt and just pulls out intestines,
Mm-hmm.
which you could buy fake intestines.
Right.
And that would have been interesting.
It's just
And then
yeah, it was pretty bland when it comes to the
yeah,
deaths.
it's just so, unless for some reason he had something in his contract that said, you know, I'm not going to get blood on me, or you can't put effects, like prosthetics on me, or some for some reason something like that. They're like, well, fuck, I
Right.
guess okay, we'll just strangle him.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to do something interesting,
Right.
and this just wasn't interesting. Like I said, it's okay, it's fine,
Fine.
it's
And you use
meh.
that use you use that word a lot when you're just describing a movie that's just kind of bland or boring. Which you did say earlier, this movie bored you, which it didn't bore me. Like I wasn't going and saying, "Oh, come on, can this movie end?" Probably like you were. I was just
I
like
kept checking.
he kept checking the time and checking to see if it was, close to being, oh man, it's not over yet. It's not. And I did that too a couple times. I checked and, saw, and then we had commercials because it was Tubi. So that was not as fun. But
Well, I went onto YouTube to see if there were reviews for this, and there were a few. Um, but I did see that they had the movie on there. Somebody
oh,
uploaded it. And I'm
okay.
like, oh crap, I wonder if there's no commercials. But with YouTube, you could click out of the commercial. And
Mm-hmm.
and so I thought, you know what? I already got it on Tubi. I'm halfway through. I'll just whenever a commercial comes on, I'll go get something to eat or go to the bathroom or whatever it is,
Right.
and then come back.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
So
Honestly, all in all, it. like I said, it didn't bore me. It just was sort of like I just wished it was better, you know? Like and you know what? Maybe that just means like the next movies and like that's a line in Ed Wood, where oh, the worst movie you ever saw, well, my next one will be better.
The next one will
Like
be better.
well, I mean, maybe these guys' next movie is better. I don't know. I will still love to check their stuff out. I think that they were able to go make a an hour and a half long movie that was interesting, enough where it kept my interest. I wanted to know what was going on, and then at the last like 13 minutes when the guy was dead, I was like, "Where's this going? Is this just gonna be about them having a good life now?" And then, oh no, the guy's back,
My
which,
God, when it continued, I'm just like,
well,
I
you
know there's
probably would
still
have been
10 minutes of this.
and honestly, they could have shaved that off, and that would have been fine. Because if they just had it like where uh everything was fine, everything was good, and then it just ended that way, you know? But maybe they set up where it could have a sequel where the guy could come
Oh
back.
God, no.
Eh, I'm just saying, like, because that's usually what happens in these movies, is it sets
Revenge
up
on Wolf Mountain.
Revenge on Wolf Mountain or Revenge of Wolf Mountain. Revenge of Wolf Mountain, like the mountain's
Yeah,
taking
Revenge
revenge.
of Wolf Mountain. Yeah, to keep the oven there. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But
Like I wouldn't mind interviewing these guys and just
right.
like what was your budget,
I wouldn't mind either.
did you have like what was the script like, but because there's the movie you want to make and then the movie you make, was this the idea? um
Mhm.
I would be interested enough because it kind of makes me curious because they have done a lot. I mean, there's a
Right.
lot of TV shows, and I think the director is mostly a TV director. And I'm like, well, this is shot like a TV episode.
Well, like you said, it could have been, yeah, it could have been something they were hoping, like something like Sci-Fi Channel would pick up, but Sci-Fi doesn't do this anymore. Like they don't, they're the WWE network now, like or whatever. They are not. They are the wrestling network. They don't. They rebranded themselves recently, and I guarantee you, at some point, Sci-Fi, which would be like how it looks like sci-fi, you know is going to change because they're not the Sci-Fi Channel anymore. So
Huh.
eventually they're going to change the name to whatever they want to call it now and rebrand themselves. And that is to me that's fine because Tubi is doing Tubi originals and a lot of them are using the Asylum and stuff like that too. So like there's enough out there where we can still get this stuff if needed. Um, but yeah, I think they were hoping for that, and they got this on Tubi, and to me that's awesome. I know Tubi does accept almost anything. It feels like,
Which they
you know,
should continue doing because they
right,
seem to be doing a very good job of that, and they're helping
right,
independent filmmakers at the same time of having a massive catalog of films,
right.
big
Well,
and small.
they're doing what Netflix originally did. Originally, Netflix, when they first started, they accepted any indie films. I remember like Chris Seaver films were on their streaming channel and stuff like that. Then Netflix blew up and got bigger and bigger and bigger, and they started doing original content, but their original content was more Hollywood. Tubi is doing original content, and it feels like the low budget schlock that you see normally, but it's also got like big time movies that other people get a chance to see,
Yeah,
and
I'm surprised that some who's like Aquaman, I think, is on there or something. It's just like, what the
yeah,
hell? Why
it was weird
why is
because
that
they
just on Max?
right. Well, I think they have some kind of deal with some of their Max has some kind of deal with some of the DC stuff that they allow other people to also have, do them. And that's smart because then they're getting extra money, especially on stuff like Aquaman, which the first Aquaman at least was pretty good, pretty decent. The second one I haven't seen, but I have
I
not
like the
heard.
second one.
Okay. Okay, good. I definitely will check it out then.
Not as good as the first, but I
Right.
thought it was good.
we were huge James Wan fans, and
Yeah.
and once again, you look at something like James Wan's first movie, Saul, which was first horror film. I don't know if that was his first movie or whatever. I think it was, but like first feature film, you know,
This is for, yeah.
and it was it was amazing, but also had a pretty decent budget for a first time film, you know? Like this movie obviously was micro budget and they just went out and made the movie that, they could afford to make, and maybe that was maybe that was some of the problems, is if they had a bigger budget, they could have done better, could have fixed a lot of these issues that they had.
I think that they tried to make a real slasher film or real thriller, and
Mhm.
that's not what they should have aimed for. I think that they should have, yeah, left out the pregnancy thing. There's too much stuff of that couple
Right.
talking and dreaming and being, like a couple, and it's like that's not what we want to see. We didn't come here
I
to talk
I
about the pregnancy. We didn't come
I
here
get it,
to.
but I think that's a writing thing. I think they wanted you to care about the two people, but the problem was it was sort of stuff that we've seen a billion other times that wasn't it wasn't interesting enough. Like they're just being pregnant isn't something that's gonna make me extremely excited and care for the character. There's that great script writing book, Save the Cat, and there was no Save the Cat. Like you can't call a pregnancy that. There was no moment where a person did something that was was made you like the person, right? Like, just because she cares about her husband doesn't make us care about them. You know, we need more. We need something. We need something to make us go, "Aw, I like that person." You know,
Right.
and I want that person to live. And when you throw in the pregnancy thing, that's what you want with it. So you want something else. You got to throw in something else that makes you go, "Oh my God, I really hope she lives so she can have that baby," and everything like that. Otherwise, I just don't care, and that person
Which
can
is why
die.
she needed the belly. She needed to. I mean, you could just take any woman and just say, "Oh yeah, she's pregnant. We
And,
just
and
found
it didn't
out."
seem like she was pregnant. Like she didn't, other than the fact, and the weird thing was they didn't have sex in the tents like the other people
Oh,
did, which
that
that probably made you
he.
happy because, but
Well, he says something that annoyed me, which they did it in Knocked Up, and it annoyed me that they brought it up in this because it was funny and Knocked Up, which is, if we're having sex, is my dick gonna hit the baby?
right.
And that's brought up in this, and I'm like, oh my god, you're with a guy who's mentally handicapped. But when Seth Rogen does it in Knocked Up, it's funny
Well,
because
the
he's
way
Seth
he's
Rogen.
well, yeah, and he says it's sort of funny because he's having like he says it in the middle of sex. That was the funny part, is he was like already worried that he was like hurting the baby and stuff.
He's
And
poking the baby's face or like its
right,
forehead or something with his
yeah.
dick.
And so that
And
was the funny part. That was how it was funny. When he says that question or something, and it seems awkward and weird. It's like, dude, either you know this stuff or you don't. And if you don't know it, then why, like, you don't seem ready to be having a child, or whatever, I I don't know. I think honestly they should have had more stuff with the childhood, like flashbacks of the childhood stuff to make me care about the character, you know, or something. You know what I mean? Because otherwise I didn't even care about the parents, like dying and everything. And you said it was the worst death, probably one of the worst deaths on screen in a while. And I agree with you. Like it was so bad, falling off the cliff and everything. It just looked terrible. And I just wanted like more from it. Like, you and this is stuff that can be fixed in the script, right? Like just show flash when they're at the campfire scene and like before they even get to the mountain and stuff, they're all hanging out talking and like out I guess outside their house or whatever. He says he starts mentioning about the brother starts mentioning about some story about the dad, you know, and everything. I'm like, that would have been a perfect time to show, not tell, and make us actually care about what's going on. Otherwise, you just telling about it is kind of boring, and I don't care.
Well, we should have fully seen it. Okay, I'll use, Bruce Wayne as a kid when his parents get killed.
Hmm.
We don't know anything about his parents. We know nothing, but we care.
Yeah,
When that whole murder takes
you're
place,
talking about the
we
first Batman, right? Like the Tim
well,
Burton Batman,
any Batman with the parents dying, I guess, really. It's just you care about that type of thing because he becomes orphaned and all that. This they could have done something similar where, and once again, it wouldn't have cost really anything because they're already on the mountain. They already got the parents, they got the kid, and then they got the guy in like the bear thing. So you just show them playing. The kids having a great time with the parents. They're having fun. They're chasing each other around the trees. The kid loves the parents so much. And it's just like, oh my God, you're great. And then there's the bear. And
there,
then it forces them to fall off the cliff. And oh no, that kid really loved his parents, and the parents really seemed nice, and now they're dead. Instead, all we got was, no, stop, stop, help. No, don't do that.
right?
And that's it.
And he mentioned something to his brother that pissed me off because we never this is never fully understood or whatever. But there's a scene where he mentions that the parents were given that choice of
Oh
jumping
God,
off
that's
the
right. I forgot
yeah,
about that.
jumping off and everything. And I'm like, wait, that no, we don't see that. That's not and did they know that was they would have known that was the son, right? Why did he even wear the mask, you know? Like that
For
was the
us,
adopted
because the script said so.
and for supposedly for the brother because the brother didn't know that it was you know but he was there, he saw the
But
whole thing.
but the brother, how older is the
And that's what
brother?
I was wondering too, like I was
Because
like,
they show them in those flashbacky things. It looks like the height of a bear.
I'm right,
So like
he looked
six
just like
foot.
what his normal height is as an adult, and I'm like, what, was he an adult when he killed the parents, and does that mean that he was the older brother, but
So
like
is he
how
like
much older?
50 now? And the kid's like 20?
Right. Like, and that's a big age gap right there. So I don't know. It got very confusing. So I didn't like it because they tried to explain so much and stuff. And I like sometimes sometimes you don't need exposition. It's better that you don't because if you explain too much, you're gonna confuse the audience, and that's sort of what this movie did. It very much confused me throughout the
Well,
whole.
I have to admit, in the first act of this film, there is a fair amount of explaining of why they're killing people. So it's 30 minutes. You got to explain something. So,
Right,
and then I do the same thing in Exodus too. But it's you have a feature length movie here where you don't have to just explain it. You can show it, like you said.
right,
So
and
there could have been, like Batman with Bruce Wayne, right? We see them leaving the movie theater. They're happy. They're eating the popcorn. They're having a great time. They're all dressed up. They're walking down the alleyway, dumbasses, and then they end up getting,
yeah, they're
killed.
rich. Why are they walking down an alleyway when they're
Yeah, they should
rich?
have taken like a cab home or
Yeah, or
or
a limo
limo
or
or
shit.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
fucking
fucking yeah.
cheapskate. Yeah,
Maybe
now I
maybe
take
that's
it
how he.
back.
Hey, look, maybe that's why he stays rich. Because he's like, fuck,
No, that's
I'm
how
not gonna.
rich people stay rich. They don't spend money.
Yeah, unless you're Donald Trump, then I think you.
Then you just lose money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know. So I think so much more could have been could have been done. So
Yeah,
it's and probably cost nothing
right.
because who knows where these guys live? I mean, they could live next to there.
Yeah, they
I
probably
mean,
did. I mean, it is honestly the writer was the main character, the main actor. So he probably was walking by and saw that area or know that area, or maybe he goes camping in that area. And he was like, you know, I know the park rangers, you know, I'm gonna ask them if we could shoot up in this place and just I don't know if it's called Wolf Mountain or whatever, but then the director gets attached and he's like, that's awesome. And they're both actors, you know, and they cast the people and I mean, like I said, they got Danny Trejo, they got fucking Tobin Bell. For me, happily, they had Matt Rife, and for you, you don't give a crap because you don't know who he is.
no
But
idea.
you know, it's just one of those things where these guys are out there making this movie and like you said, like it was just kind of boring to you and it was fine. Like it's just fine. That's it. You know, a it's not the worst film you've ever seen, you know, or whatever, you know, but
It
it's
was more
not
just boring.
yeah. And that's sometimes the cardinal sin of filmmaking. You
Oh
really
yeah.
don't want your movies to be boring. You want people to be like super like look at Reservoir Dogs, you know? I mean that movie cost a million, you know, or whatever bucks, maybe a little less, but you know, cost a good amount of money. But like, you know, that movie was about people, you know, and that had a lot of tell not show. But then it did have some show, you know, like them running from the bank and you know, things like that. And
But also Tarantino's an excellent writer.
yeah, you really
I
can't
mean, he can give a 10-minute expedition dump and you
exposition.
would just be, like
Yeah.
that, just,
Because they'll do it in a way where it's Tarantino-y, you know, where the lines just feel like they're written like, you know, was it that monologue from freaking Christopher Walken about the watch and everything. Like that's just so fucking well done that I'm just staring there going, I could listen to Christopher Walken talking about a gold watch and sticking it up his ass, you know, for like hours, you know, and be fine with it, you know. But like a movie like this where I don't even know if they never tried, you know, the bank robbing scene stuff and things like that felt a little like, you know, wannabe Tarantino thing. But then they didn't you know, they could have gone a little different way with it too, is the bank robbers could have been violent, you know, and that would have been fun because you would have the violent bank robber, but then you'd have the brother-in-law who's also violent, you know, and
but then they
and the
don't do
brother.
anything with the money.
They were supposed
They
to bury it or something, which I'm like, why?
yeah,
Like,
and then come back for it because nobody's going to find it. How about our main cast? One of the guys finds out about the money, and he's like,
yeah,
"Oh, I'm going to go get that money." So
yeah.
when everybody's saying we need to leave Wolf Mountain, one of the guys is like, no, oh no, I sprained my ankle. Now we got to stay up here because he's going to go, find that
And,
money.
and then on top of that, have there be a person who's a werewolf there, you know?
That would have been better.
Yeah. It's just I don't mind slasher films. You know, they're like one of my favorite genres. Actually, they are my favorite genre. But I like good slasher films. Scream. I Know What You Did Last Summer. Urban Legend. You know, all the old Friday the 13th. You know, this just felt like I don't know, just a retread of everything we've already seen. You know. So I'm just kind of disappointed, but in the same sense, I didn't hate the movie. I couldn't hate the movie. I just think it suffered from lack of originality and lack of creativeness. And that to me it makes something boring, you know? If you can't be creative with a low budget movie, then just don't make it, you know?
I would never buy it. Like I found it at Zia Records, and at times they sell stuff for like $3, $2, I still wouldn't buy it.
You still wouldn't
I,
buy it, like you don't want
I
it.
would not pick it up.
I would
No,
if it had like
there's
commentary, because I would like to listen to like why they chose to go the route that they did. And once again, you said you'd like to interview them. I would love to hear like their story. So maybe they'll see this video, because sometimes it's so funny how sometimes randomly people will comment on the movies that we did, and they'll tell us, explain to us like, why people did certain things or whatever, that because we don't understand it, you know, but we're the audience, you know, and we're supposed to understand this stuff. Like you're supposed to be that good of a filmmaker that we can follow along without being confused, you know. I think even Tarantino said that once, is like when a when an audience feels confused, they check out, you know, and they don't want to watch this anymore, and everything. But Tarantino can make you confused and still intrigued by the confusion, you know? Like, where's this gonna go? Okay, this is it. You know what I mean? And you want that though.
sure.
I mean, you want something so original that you're going, what's gonna happen next? Because I've never seen this. And when it it's okay to do a movie set at a cabin in the woods or in the woods in a tent, but you just got to be different, you know, and that's just the way it is.
I'm blanking. How did the brother die? At the
Which
like the
one?
very, very end? The
Uh,
killer.
okay, the sword at the end.
That's right. I had to go back and I rewatched that 3 times because it seemed confusing to me. That's right. They had the sword out of nowhere that's just
Well,
sitting up
it was
there.
okay. So in the beginning of the movie, he gives that as a present to him or
Oh
whatever.
God, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah. So in the beginning of the movie, when he's at the pool, when they're all at the pool and everything,
That's right.
he
That's
comes
right.
over and he gives him something, and I was like, "What the fuck is that in his hand?" And the guy's like, "You gave me a sword, or whatever." And I'm like, "Okay." And then at the end of the movie, he kills him with the sword. So I actually like that, because that's the line, when if you show a gun in Act 1, it better go off in Act 3. So if you show a sword in Act 1, it better,
Stab
you better
somebody in Act
stab
Three.
somebody in Act 3. I thought that was great. I
I
actually really.
completely forgot. So what they okay, so to make the sword more apparent, okay, so the guy gives it to him as a gift.
Hmm.
Then there should be when they're at the party, like at the pool and stuff, he's playing with the sword. So
Hmm.
maybe the guy has one of those long swimming pool noodle things,
Hmm.
and he's playing with the noodle, and the other guy, the brother, has the sword, and they're doing Zorro or something, or whatever it is, ha ha ha, and we see the sword. We keep the sword in our mind because we get like a shot of guy with sword. In
Hmm.
this, wasn't it just happy birthday? Here's a sword, and it's like, oh, why am I getting a sword? And then that's
Yeah, it
it.
was so random, because the guy was even saying like, "Why are you giving me a sword?" For whatever.
So, like you
Which,
could say, it ended up at the end of the movie. You're
right,
100% correct.
right, and that was it. Like they probably took that line of, if a gun goes off or is shown in Act 1, it goes off in Act 3. I believe they thought that, or whatever, because it's never shown in Act 2 at all. When they're in they never bring it with them or whatever. Which could have been cool if he had another sword. Like, it would have been neat if the brother was saying stuff like, oh, I gave you this sword because it matches the one I have, right? And then later he's killing people with a sword as the, slasher guy. That would have been neat, you know? Like, I would have loved that. It
Okay.
didn't have to be so many times, but then throughout the thing, about the sword. You remember in your head, because yeah, you're right. I didn't remember about the sword like until he kills him with the sword, and I go, "Oh yeah, that was in the beginning of the movie where, at the pool pool scene, but you totally forgot, which is probably what most people would do. Is
Which
most
is
people
why I
would
went back and watched it like 3 times because I wasn't understanding like where did the sword come from? I mean, even the girlfriend, like if she's packing or something, she could be like, "Yeah, I'm not, with the baby on the way, I'm not really comfortable with having a sword in the house."
mm-hmm.
Bring it up like that. So maybe we don't have to see them dueling by the swimming pool, but you could have the girlfriend and then the boyfriend takes the sword and then puts it up in the closet or maybe puts it in another room or something. You have something to do with this sword.
Yeah,
And
maybe
then
you had
because
him into like the bedroom, and she's like, I want that sword out of the bedroom because I don't feel comfortable with it there. And he's like, oh, I'll just put it on the mantle above the fireplace, or whatever.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
anyway,
yeah, it could have been their dad's, or something. Why are you giving me dad's sword? Oh, well,
that's
I
even
thought that you might
better.
like it, above your mantle,
Yeah,
display it. I think you would like it more than me. Dad wanted you to have it, something like that. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. No, I agree. Well,
God, I totally forgot about. Yeah, because doesn't he just kind of they stab him and then he's just kind of like
yeah,
that on it?
yep. He just kind of dies, and then that's it.
Yeah.
That's sort of the weakest ending because it's just like I said, it should have ended with him falling off the cliff and then maybe like show a little bit of them happy, you know, that like it's over now, like all that stuff he talks to
Well,
Toby
there's a
Bell.
little bit of irony. You forced your mom and dad off the cliff, and now you've died on the cliff, and you see him
Right.
like impaled on a rock or something down there, and then that's when the cousin comes into it, in the car. I thought I saw my brother. Like, what are you talking about? And then all of a sudden, it turns that they're into it, together.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, but however, it didn't go that way. It went
no,
its own way, and honestly, it was sort of, yeah, like you said, it was sort of boring. And I
it was fine.
I would love to see other stuff by these guys. I think that this was probably a big learning experience for them, and maybe their next movie would be, a little bit better. But I mean, that's the thing. Like when you watch movies, like you said, you saw reviews of this movie on YouTube. I'm sure they weren't fairly positive. You
I
know.
did it. I saw that there were like three. One of the reviews I knew, but like what the reviewer, but I never made it through the review because it didn't start off with, "Wow, this is a piece of junk." you know?
That's the way you wanted it to start off.
Yeah.
Um,
And then I would have watched it because I wasn't willing to give it a good if they gave it a good review. It's like,
yeah, I
no,
mean,
I'd rather watch Spider-Man.
you'd rather watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. There is like, so if you go on YouTube, there are lots of like there's the Flicks for Free. I don't know if that's the one you watched on. Um, but there's a couple different ones, and then yeah, it looks like um there's an interview for at the Curse of Wolf Mountain premiere. I mean, there's things on there about it. Wolf Mountain full movie. I mean, so you can see it on YouTube for free. I didn't even look. I knew it was on Tubi, so I figured why not, you know.
Well, Tubi's the go-to place. So
Tubi's the go-to place because the people who made the movie get paid, for it. If you watch it all the way through, they'll get or a certain amount, I think maybe even an hour or something, they get paid for it. So I do love helping independent artists out, indie filmmakers because that is that's the struggle, man. It's hard to make a movie. So anybody who makes a movie gets an applause, but I don't buy that whole just because you made a movie, the movie's great, or something. Like that's
no,
how
it,
people
it
kind of
should
view
be
it.
criticized.
Yeah.
Like filmmakers shouldn't criticize other filmmakers. Well, that's like saying a novelist shouldn't criticize another novelist. Sometimes novels are just shit, and some are good. Some painters are really good and some are shit, and the ones that are
Hmm.
shit should know it. Go pick another job,
Yep. So
dog.
yeah, my dog just woke up. He was just like, he was like, "You're still talking? You're still gabbing?" Oh. He was sad that there was no wolf on Wolf Mountain.
Yeah,
Um,
I would think so.
it's funny though, because I was watching both today. I was watching Wolf Mountain, and I also watched Blue Thunder for the first time. I was telling you that earlier. Blue Thunder interested him. This other one, this movie put him to sleep. But the other one, like Blue Thunder, he started looking and watching the television and was like,
Because there was some action going on and it
there
was
was
well
stuff.
directed. So
It was interesting, I guess, to him. I don't know. I've never he hasn't done that in a while. And even after then, I was watching like YouTube and other things. He had no interest in that. But the Blue Thunder, he was up and staring right at the television. And I was like, huh, and when I went to go take a picture of him doing that, he went lie down because he didn't want to take his picture, I guess. I don't know. Very smart dog, you know.
Roy Scheider is very captivating. So
Yeah.
it's
If Roy Scheider was in this movie, might have been a different story
oh, definitely.
because he's
Well,
dead.
he might have
That
had
would
the
have been
Tobin Bell
his.
role.
Yeah, if he was still alive, yeah, you know.
And then
Um,
it still would have been the same. Just
it just would have had Roy Scheider in there instead of Tobin Bell because Tobin Bell
yeah.
is an excellent actor. Like he's excellent and he did a great job with the.
Tobin Bell was fine. Danny Trejo was fine. The
Yeah,
acting was fine. It's fine.
that's it.
It's it's fine.
All right, everybody.
That's what my review would be. It's fine, John Ward.
It's fine, John Ward. That's it. Well, everybody, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you, John, for I feel bad nowadays because most of the time for Indie Film Cafe or for this or for anything else, you're just like, oh God, I don't even know why I watch these movies anymore, or whatever. And I knew, like you sent me that message yesterday saying I can barely, watch this, or whatever. And I was laughing because I was like, well, because I watched about 3 minutes of it last night and I was just not in the mood. And I was like, I'm gonna watch it tomorrow. And so I woke up, I ended up waking up early because this little guy woke me up early. And I was like, you know what? I'll start watching at 7 in the morning, and I had finished around 9, something. So it was, I was happy to see it. You know, is it something I'll ever watch again? Probably not. You know, I like, I feel like I've seen it. And that's enough. Like it's ingrained in my brain enough where I'm just like, I don't need to see it again. It didn't have anything that jumped out to make me go, oh my God, I wanna watch that scene again. You know. And that I think
No,
that's the problem. That's the biggest problem is, you want a movie that you're like, oh my God, that's like Blue Thunder, where you're like, oh my God, that scene was freaking cool. I'd love to rewatch that, you know, scene or whatever. But it's not every movie's not like that, especially low budget indie films. So all right. Well, I hope you
yeah,
guys enjoyed this and keep checking back. Next tomorrow we'll have a brand new episode, a brand new person, a brand new victim, I guess. I have no
victim is
idea
great.
what it is yet, but I think you guys will enjoy it. And until then, everybody, hope you guys had a good one. Bye.
Bye.